So, how is it going, folks? So, it's PJ from Hybrid Fitness here. Thank you for joining me here on this webinar. The webinar obviously is called Dietary Interventions for Fat Loss. The main things we want to talk about today is obviously finding strategies that we can use for fat loss with ourselves, fat loss or weight loss for ourselves or with clients as well. So, if you are on here, you're obviously interested in either losing weight, or if you're a potential trainer, you just want to find out a little bit more about some of the strategies we maybe use at Hybrid Fitness. So again, welcome, and I hope you enjoy the seminar. Okay, so there will be some links if you want to link and maybe turn up the live event that we'll hold at the gym, and also some of the downloads that we have here for our Fat Loss Made Simple recipes, our Hybrid Fitness Guide to Mindset, and also our 7-day fat loss meal plan. Okay, so let's get started. So, who is Hybrid Fitness? So, Hybrid Fitness was created by myself, PJ, this lovely handsome chap here, and a guy called Michael Lennon, or as most people commonly know him as Lenny. So, this is our facility. We're based in Belfast City Centre, on King Street, just like up the street from Primark, if any of you know Belfast. So this is the facility here. It's hard to miss, big massive shop front. So you're joining me tonight. So my name, as I say, was PJ. A little bit about myself. I am a gym owner. I am a personal trainer. I am a sports massage therapist. And something I'm missing out there, I'm a teacher as well. So we run Elite Fitness and Performance Academy, where we train people to become personal trainers or fitness instructors. And also, I'm a massive nutrition geek. So I have studied nutrition a lot for the last few years. Technically, I could be known as a nutritionist. I prefer not to do that just from a legal standpoint, just because dietitians are the only one that are able to give you nutrition plans. Okay, so I'm just giving you the benefit of my experience, stuff I've done with my clients, stuff I've recommended with people. So the photo on the left just here is a photo of myself when I was 18 years of age on a lad's holiday in Gran Canaria, thinking I was awesome. I was training for a little while here. I'd sort of trained for a few years, nothing major. My granddad used to go to the leisure centre, and I would sort of tag along and do whatever he did, until the point here on this right hand side I was going on a mate's stag do, and obviously I was sort of working with a bodybuilding coach team to try and sort of lean out, try and get as lean as possible. I have been a little bit leaner, have a little bit tighter, but this is obviously just a photo that was taken in the airport. In an airport bar. So I'm still a human being at the end of the day. We're not all freaks. So that's a little bit about myself, and I want to just kick on right into this. So as you know from the title, Dietary Interventions for Fat Loss, it was chosen specifically for this webinar and also for the seminar that I take. Okay, so I just want to give you a few definitions about that. So based on the English Oxford Dictionary, dietary meaning the adjective of that is relating to or provided by diet. The noun is a regulated or restricted diet. So intervention, the noun, an occasion on which a person with an addiction or other behavioral problem is confronted by a group of friends or family members in an attempt to persuade them to address the issue. Okay, so just on that point, an intervention is usually seen in people who have addictions to alcohol, drugs, sex, whatever it is. And what we don't usually address is people's addiction to sugar, to food, to things that are potentially impacting their health. So this is where the name of Dietary Interventions for Fat Loss comes in. So let's talk about a little bit about the impact of nutrition. So a meta-analysis. So a meta-analysis is basically all the research in this field brought together by a board of scientists, and they all agree on a conclusion of all the research that's brought together. So that's just, again, if you're a little bit confused, that's what a meta-analysis is. So meta-analysis conducted by Sven Segel et al. And all his other peers to determine the long-term efficiency of diet and exercise against diet and exercise against exercise, and also just diet against exercise alone. So what they did is they compared 21 different published studies with over 3,500 participants, measuring anthropometrics, so it's basically body measurements, blood lipids, blood pressure, and cardiorespiratory fitness. And what they found out was that diet and exercise was superior for improving anthropometrics, improving your blood profiles, your blood pressure, and obviously your cardiorespiratory fitness. So diet and exercise is number one. That's the stuff that we want to be doing if we want to get fitter and we want to get healthier. But what I want to sort of bring to your attention is the take-home point was that diet was better than exercise alone. Okay, so this is where you potentially see these weight loss groups, people not potentially exercising but losing weight and getting healthier in the process. Something like Slimming World, Weight Watchers. So they're doing the least that they need to do, for example. So laws of thermodynamics. So I try not to get too technical on this, but we just want to refer back to this. So the laws of thermodynamics, energy cannot be transformed from one form to another, but can be neither created nor destroyed. It can only change forms. So essentially what's going to happen is the energy that you put into your body, which is coming from food, that must be transformed into movement. If it's not, or obviously expelled through skin and other various different factors, if that energy is not used up, then essentially we are going to store that energy. So that's where obviously fat cells accumulate. They obviously get a little bit bigger. So we want to be aware of our energy intake. So if we're eating more than we're actually expending, the potential to put on weight is what's going to happen. If we're eating less than we're expending, we're going to lose weight. Okay, so as you can see here, first law of thermodynamics, energy before, energy after. So the energy is going in, it's balancing out, the energy after is being stored, okay, or used up there and then. So this is a slide I use in my seminars a lot. So fad restrictive diets make you fat. So the British Journal of Nutrition study on restrictive dieting leading to weight gain rebound. So I'm not going to run through this too much, but essentially what happened was they measured people on certain studies, as we can see here, 84, 89, 89, 2001, 2003. I will obviously update this as well. And this is the time frame in which they measured the weight loss over, and obviously the outcomes. So if you can see from some of the outcomes here, baseline dieters gained approximately 1 kilo more than non-dieters. So people who went on a diet were more likely to gain weight and then some after they dieted than someone who did not even diet at all. And that was obviously a women-only study. So baseline dieting is one of the several predictors of weight gain. Baseline dieting had 2 times the risk of major weight gain, greater than 10 kilos, than non-dieters. So I think you get the picture here. So if you do diet and you do crash diet and you do have fad restrictive diets, your potential to put on weight is 10 times greater, essentially. So the way to sort of think about that is we're all born with a set number of fat cells. Now, we cannot lose fat cells. What actually happens is fat cells either grow or they shrink. But when we've been in caloric restrictions, we've been in a diet for a period of time, our potential to add fat cells is greater. So as soon as you come off a diet, you go straight into eating all those junk food and start overeating, you will put on body fat. So that's just to let you know about that. So the latest research, which was just published recently from the International Society of Sports Nutrition, so the ISSN, technically they're like the gold standard in our industry, have published their stand on diets and body composition. So to summarize that research, the main points were, 1, diets focused on fat loss are driven by sustained caloric deficit. So that is essentially eating less and exercising a little bit more, or eating less than you're actually doing on a day-to-day basis. 2, a wide range of dietary approaches. So whether you decided to do a low-fat diet, whether you decided to do a low-carbohydrate or a ketogenic diet, and any of those diets in between, they all had a similar effect for improving body composition, as long as they were in a calorie deficit. So increasing dietary protein to levels significantly beyond current recommendations for athletic populations may result in improved body composition. So what the ISSN are actually saying here is, if you up your protein levels, there is no downside, okay? Unless you have a pre-existing condition for your kidneys, then there may be a few issues. Obviously, contact your doctor and get that signed off beforehand. But what happens is, when we eat protein, our body has to heat up to break that protein down. So essentially, we have to expend calories to break down the food so that we can obviously get the amino acids and the nutrients from that protein. So an example of dietary protein is obviously going to be your lean meats, chicken, turkey, some of your other meats, steaks. They're going to be your best dietary proteins. You can obviously get them from dairy and other things. So the long-term success of a diet depends upon compliance. So if we go back to point 2, a wide range of dietary approaches, low fat, low carbohydrate, ketogenic, whatever it is, will work if you're in a caloric deficit and you can stick to it. Okay, so that is the massive thing. If you can stick to it, your likelihood of success is a lot better. Okay, so here's just some of the research here. So as you can see from the left-hand side, low energy diets, LEDs, from anything from 800 to 1200 calories a day, or very low energy diets, 400 to 800 calories a day. What the strengths, what the pros of that was, you did get rapid weight loss. A lot of the times they involved pre-made products like shakes. They did eliminate or minimize the need for cooking and planning. What are the limitations? Because everything will have a pro and everything will have a con. So the very low energy diets had a higher risk for more severe side effects, but do not necessarily outperform low energy diets in the long term. So the severe side effects could be, downregulation of cognitive function, your thyroid becoming downregulated, your androgen hormones potentially becoming down, and obviously the potential to rebound of weight. So we have low-fat diets here. Low-fat diets have the support of major health organizations due to the large evidence bases in the literature. Flexible macronutrient range does not indiscriminately vilify foods based on carbohydrate content, so the CHO is carbohydrate. Upper limits of fat allowance may falsely convey the message that dietary fat is inherently agonistic to body fat reduction. So by reducing your body fat does not have a direct correlation to you losing body fat. So very low fat diets have a scarce evidence basis in terms of comparative effects on body composition and extremes, and can challenge adherence. So example, if you had a very, very low fat diet, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to lose body fat. It also means that you're going to have to be a lot stricter with your food choices. You wouldn't be really allowed to eat the likes of dairy, cheeses, yogurts, red meats, higher fatty meats. You had to be really, really careful with that sort of stuff. So low carb diets, anything from 50 to 150 grams carbohydrate, or 40% of calories from carbohydrates. Defaults to, obviously, if you lower your carbs, most people will up their protein intake. A large amount of flexibility in macronutrient proportion, and by extension, flexibility in food choices does not indiscriminately prohibit foods based on fat content. So obviously, we are not going to take out foods that are fatty. So we could have steaks, we could have cheeses, yogurts, stuff like that. So the upper limits of carbohydrate allowance may falsely convey the message that carbohydrate is inherently agonistic to body fat reduction. So what's actually happening is, you having that upper threshold of carbohydrates does not mean, again, as we were saying there, that it's counterproductive to losing body fat. Okay, so upper limits of carbohydrate allowance may falsely convey the message that carbohydrates is inherently agonistic to body fat reduction. So just because you went low carb doesn't necessarily mean that you will lose body fat. Okay. And then obviously we have ketogenic diets here, so the maximum 50 grams carbohydrates. Your obviously natural default is to go to higher protein intake. It is going to suppress appetite and controls hunger a little bit better due to the fact that protein is more satiating. Uh, Spontaneous reductions in calories. So essentially, when you go into ketogenic and you take out carbs, naturally you go into a caloric deficit. Okay, so it simplifies the diet planning and diet decision-making process. So the limitations obviously are excludes or minimizes high carbohydrate foods, which can be nutrient dense. So those grains, those healthy grains that we eat are high in fiber and nutrients, lots of vitamins and minerals, and we're taking them out. And they potentially could be disease preventative. They can compromise high intensity training input. So if you do have a sport like bodybuilding, or you're doing body composition style training or HIIT training, you're not going to be in the best position to get through that session just based on the carbohydrate intake. So it has not shown superior effects on body composition compared to non-ketogenic diets when protein and calories are matched. So dietary extremes can challenge long-term adherence. So this again is a fad diet. This is a fad diet. This is a fad diet. This is a fad diet. They all work when you are in a caloric deficit. So here again, I will not go over this too much. High protein diets, intermittent fasting, whatever it is, I'll just let you have a look. So when you're watching this video, if you just want to pause and have a look and have a read through that, even just message me, I can send you the research on this. Okay, so is there an optimal diet for weight management and metabolic health? So this is just a study that we took that was published on PubMed, and here's some of the take-home points. So human beings prefer things to be simple, and therefore is a desire to pinpoint the one best diet that solves everything. So it's not intermittent fasting, it's not a high protein diet, it's not a ketogenic diet. Whatever it is, it's not one thing. So just based on my own example, whenever I was trying to lean out, times I would fast in the mornings, I would have a pretty high protein diet, and then I would probably have carbs straight after training. Okay, so that's almost intermittent fasting with paleo style elements, carb backload where I'm sort of keeping all my carbs after training to recover. Okay, so a lot of elements in there and not just one meal plan. So unfortunately, things are rarely that straightforward. There is no optimal macronutrient distribution for weight management. So there's no one size fits all strategy that will suit everyone. So that means having 40% protein, 20% fat, and 40% carbohydrates is the best macronutrient split. It's no better than 30% protein, 50% fat, 20% carbohydrates. So again, it just needs to suit the person. So what the big take home was, caloric restriction is the fundamental premise of every successful weight loss strategy. So whether that is achieved by lowering fat, lowering carbohydrates, whether you fast, whether you use meal replacements, whether you have a high protein diet, if you are in a caloric deficit, whatever you're doing, you will lose weight. So everything is relative, and the best diet ultimately is the one you can stick to long enough to achieve the weight loss goals you desire. So I just thought I'd bring that out of the way there. So the basics, let's get into it. So we just covered some of the research. We've told you what are the best things, that a caloric deficit is the number one thing that we want to achieve. We just need to find what suits that person and what suits you. So the basics, based on the pyramid of nutrition priorities, this is my one. There are a few different versions out there. Calories are the base requirement. Okay, so I know a lot of people don't like tracking calories. I know at Hybrid we do try and get people to do it every so often. If there's someone is doing like our transformation program, or we have a specific deadline, we do really encourage them that they track their calories, because if we know how much they're taking in, then it's easier for us to adjust the diet as we go along. And the massive thing that I love about tracking calories is that people are now aware. When you have more awareness, you're more likely to make better decisions. Okay, so we're walking throughout the day, we're not thinking about what we're doing, don't really care what we eat. I get you to track. Next minute you're going, why did I even have that Mars bar at like 2 o'clock? Or like, oh, I forgot that I had that, that little treat after my coffee. And things just start slipping in there, and you start seeing patterns. So when you actually hold someone accountable and you have accountability, hence the reason why people have coaches, they pay for their advice and they pay for their accountability to keep them on point. So calories is the biggest predeterminant. The next thing is macronutrients, which we will talk about, which is proteins, carbohydrates, and fats, and we'll give you a few examples of what they are. The next thing up is what's known as nutrient attainment. So macronutrients would be fiber, vitamins, minerals. Nutrient attainment is essentially where you put your foods at specific times of the day. So would you have most of your carbohydrates in and around your training times? Would you fast in the mornings? If you train in the mornings, would you get up and have a cup of coffee and some amino acids, or would you have a big breakfast before you go and train? A whole host of different factors. So meal frequency for a lot of people doesn't really matter. Most people are going to have 3 basic square meals and maybe 1 to 3 snacks. Depends on the size of the person. So if you have breakfast, lunch, dinner, had a few snacks in between. So whether you eat 6 times a day, whether you eat 4 times a day, if you are in a very stressful job where you don't get that much time off, you may have to eat all of your meals in 3 meals. If you are like a bodybuilder who has a lot of time to eat, you might eat 6 meals just to keep your blood sugar levels a little bit steadier. Then we have food quality. So, I think we all went through a period there where everyone was saying that organic food was the best thing we could buy, but it can get really expensive. We're not going to buy grass-fed beef, wild, Atlantic caught salmon. It can get pretty expensive, and I know a lot of people, again, if they're training for fat loss and they're paying a coach, they don't want to be shelling out a ton more money. So food quality has a little benefit. If some people are allergic to certain foods and they're getting cheaper, cuts of meats and stuff like that there, you can't have an issue, but it's not a massive impact. And then at the top, the magic pills that everybody likes to take, supplements, are just the tip of the iceberg. They just cover everything. The way I explain it is, have you ever walked out of the house and went, shit, have I turned the cooker off? Or have I locked the back door? And you start second guessing yourself. For me, what supplements do are they just assure you that you've done everything that you possibly can to put yourself in the best position to A, lose weight, B, lose muscle, obviously lose body fat. So calories matter, macronutrients matter, then comes nutrient attainment, meal frequency, food quality. If you have a pretty much a good ratio of 80 to 20, so 80% of your meals are good, healthy, nutritious meals, and the other 20% can be a little bit off point, a little bit more junk, because at the end of the day, we're going to talk about this a little bit later with the behavior. You're not going to go throughout your life not eating the Chinese, having a little bit of junk food. Your body can process that. It's not the end of the world. But, out of 10 meals, if you had 5 meals per day, you had an awesome day on Monday, you had an awesome day on Tuesday, a little bit stressed when you get home, you had a little bit of chocolate. Is that going to have a massive effect? Not really. You're pretty much on point if you're around about the 80-20 mark. So, total daily energy expenditure. So this is essentially what's happening every day with people. So we're going to calculate our own energy expenditure, and we're going to try and get you guys to build your own stats. So as you can see from here, our resting metabolic rate, or RMR, is essentially what our body needs to function. So this big red chunk here is essentially everything that your body needs, organs, hormones, to get you going in the day. So I'm just gonna give you a really, really rough number here. So if we imagine all these together equates to 1,000 calories, okay, we're talking about 50 to 55% of that, so 500 to 550 would be basically what your body just needs to function. So that's literally you lying in your bed, scratching your butt, not really doing a lot. Okay, so the next thing, again, which is a small impact, is what's known as the thermic effect of meals. So we spoke about earlier, protein. When we consume protein, our body has to heat up it expends calories to try and break down the protein. So essentially, we're burning calories as we're actually digesting that food. So having a higher protein diet, like we spoke about, the SSN says that there's no downside to having a high protein diet. We know this, obviously, unless you have kidney stuff, but again, we spoke about just speaking to your doctor. I'm just going to skip this blue thing for a sec. We're going to go to exercise. So exercise is probably going to contribute to about 10%. So if we say, if we were eating 1,000 calories, it's probably only about 100 calories. This is about 550. Thermic effect of food is going to be about 5-10%. And then this NEAT, this is known as non-exercise adaptive thermogenesis. And all that is everything you do on a day-to-day basis. So walking, cycling, doing chores around the house, whatever it is. If you're in a manual labor job, obviously this NEAT is a little bit higher than some other people's. Okay, so you could be expending a little bit more energy. And then obviously these are the two things that we could improve every day. So we could add exercise in there. We could go for a little bit more walks. So when we do have clients, we do get them to track their steps as well. So we know exactly how far they're walking each time. So we control all the variables. Okay, so protein, what is it? So protein are the building blocks of the body. They assist in the growth and repair of tissues and cells. They form part of vital structures in the body, such as skin, hair, nails, muscles, teeth, bones, organs, ligaments, and tendons. So when we speak to females and they're like, usually a lot of them resonate a lot more towards carbohydrates and don't eat enough protein, just turn around, speak to them, say, listen, would you like nice hair, nice skin, nice nails, nice teeth? I'm going to guarantee every one of them is going to say yes. So proteins are made up of 9 essential amino acids and 11 non-essential, and a complete protein source has all 20 amino acids, and most of them are going to come from meat, dairy. So any of those vegetarians or vegans out there, please don't hate on me. It's just you can't get the amino acids from different sources, but you have to pair them up a little bit. So incomplete proteins lack one or more of the 9 essential amino acids, so something like legumes, grains, vegetarians and vegans will be eating. And the average intake based on research is 0.8 to 1.5 grams for a meal per pound of body weight. So if I just roughly estimate that, if I round that off to 1 gram per pound of body weight. So as we're going to see in the next slide, not the next slide, a few slides down, 180-pound meal, having 1 gram per pound, you'd be having 180 grams of protein. Obviously for a female, it's a little bit lower, so anything between 0.6 to 1.2. Again, there is no downside to having additional, protein content, but we're going to miss out on some of those awesome carbohydrates. So just again, to work into the calorie model, protein is equivalent to 4 calories for every 1 gram of protein. So fats. Fat is the biggest energy source in the body, provides us with insulation to help keep the cells healthy. It is energy dense and it keeps you full. So fat has different forms. We have saturated fat, stuff that comes from coconut oil, grass-fed butter, cheese, milk. This is what we classify as our good saturated fats. Monounsaturated fats coming from canola oil, olive oil, nuts. Polyunsaturated fats coming from corn oils, soybean oils. And then we have trans fats. So trans fats are all the nice stuff that's bad for you. Cakes, buns, pastries, and we know we all love them. So the recommended intake is usually 0.4 to 0.8 grams per pound of body weight. So again, just a rough estimate, be about 20% of your diet. So if we had someone who was eating 1,000 calories a day, we'd be looking 200 calories of that to be recommended towards fat, because we know it provides us insulation, it helps keep our cells healthy, and helps keep you fuller for longer. So fat is equivalent to 9 calories per gram. So a lot more energy dense, expends a little bit more of your calories, so you maybe want to reduce it a little bit more. So I'll have a little check here, see where we're going. 10. We're good. Okay, so carbohydrates. There are no essential carbohydrates. So the 2 essential macronutrients we need in the world are proteins and fats. There are people around the world who do not eat carbohydrates and do survive a lovely life, but they're not essential. They are number one energy and performance macronutrient, so that's why there is a ton of carbs, and they also taste awesome. So we can source nutrients from proteins and fats to maintain life. They are the main source of energy for the brain, though, and muscle tissue for glycogen. And they can come in many forms. For ease, we'll stick with starches, rice, potato, legumes, non-starches, fibrous foods like veg. So recommended intake is individual. Some people do better on higher carbs, some prefer low, some prefer no carbs. I think it just depends on the person. So 1 gram of carbs is equivalent to 4 calories. So protein, 1 gram of protein is equivalent to 4 calories. 1 gram of carbs is equivalent to 4 calories, and 1 gram of fat is equivalent to 9 calories. So this is why fat could potentially get a lot of slack there essentially. So DATs, there are multiple amount of DATs in the world. We spoke about this earlier. The top 5 most commonly used are the ketogenic diet, which is a very low carb, high fat diet. Intermittent fasting comes in different forms, so I'm sure some of you have heard of the 5-2 diet. Lean gains is another intermittent fasting diet, and then we have alternate day fasts. Carb cycling or calorie cycling, where you're lowering your carbs on non-training days, or calorie cycling, where you're potentially upping your calories on the weekend, saving your calories during the week and upping them on the weekend. You're banking them. Paleo diet, where you're having single ingredient foods, you're not having any processed foods. Atkins diet, which again works in a couple of different forms. You have a phase where you're taking out carbohydrates straight away, and you're slowly introducing them. You're trying to have maintenance phases. And then obviously we have our most famous ones, which are going to be Slim Aware and Weight Watchers, which are points and sins based. Again, loosely around a calorie model. So what are the common differences between them? So if we look back at the research of what the ISSN were talking about, every diet works when the person can adhere to the diet and when they are in a caloric deficit. So again, I know I keep mentioning this word caloric deficit, but it just literally means that you're eating less than you're actually moving. So if you're moving more than you're actually eating, you will lose weight. Okay? So let's create your diet. The perfect diet should encompass body composition, it should encompass health, and it should encompass performance. So this is the golden grail that we want to be in here. What happens is a lot of people sort of crash diet, want to look good, and they focus on this aspect at the expense of their health and also the expense of their performance. So how many of you have crash dieted, have been in the gym, felt a little bit faint, felt a little bit weak, don't have the energy to go through a session? Next minute, you're losing out on a whole host of vitamins and minerals because you do not have a complete diet. You've probably taken carbohydrates out or you're probably taking fats out. So you're not healthy. You're not performing. It's affecting your life in work, and when you get home, you're tired, you're lethargic, all because you want body composition. So we want all 3 of these, and it can happen. So how many times does this look like your diet? So we start a diet, we restrict ourselves from certain foods, we feel deprived, we then begin to crave those foods. Eventually, some point along the line, we will give in. We eat the food, we feel really guilty, we beat ourselves up, we shout at ourselves, our coach tells us why to do that, and then next minute it's Monday starts again, let's start our diet. Okay, so we want to break that cycle. We want to show you where you're going wrong and potentially why it's not your fault. So how to create your nutrition plan. So there's various online calculators, okay, but they will only ever give you your BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate. Okay, that's what your RMR was, we were talking about earlier. Simple little method, without getting too technical, without using any calculators, is take your body weight in pounds, that we're going to see from the next slide, times that by 10. And that's a very, very rough estimate. Some people times it by 11, times it by 12. It just depends. We just need a sort of average number. Then we address the person's level of activity. So if that person does not exercise, they don't walk to work, they don't take the escalator, they have a very sedentary job in an office, whatever it is, you're not going to times that by a lot of calories. And again, we'll show you the activity table next, and we'll talk you through it. We can then determine what macronutrient intake we would like based on the person's goal. So if you're trying to lose a little bit of body fat and you're in the you have a high BMI, you're potentially overweight, obese, we could reduce your carbohydrates just to keep you a little bit more insulin sensitive. I don't want to get too technical. So we could then go, we want a high protein diet with moderate fat, moderate carbohydrates. So we have a balance of all three. So as you can see, this left hand side, our body weight in pounds times 10. So for example, that is 180 pound meal, times that by 10, that will give you 1800 calories. And then we multiply that by the activity level on here. Now there's different activity level calculators, so you might get a few little numbers, but it is just a rough estimate, a very, very rough estimate. So 1800 times 1.375. So this person has a light activity level. They maybe do a little bit of exercise for 1 to 3 days per week. And this gives us a calorie intake of 2,475, which I've roughly rounded off to 2,500. And I like to do that just to better on the err on the side of caution. Okay, so I go a little bit lower, like I say, just to err on the side of caution. So then what I want you to do is track your food just for about 3 to 5 days. Try and be as specific as possible. So as we can see here, we've put in strawberries, a cup. We've put in 1 scrambled egg whites. We haven't put in scrambled eggs. We haven't put in strawberries. We've broke it down individually. Okay, we have bread. It's whole wheat. It's toasted. We can see down here from this lunch aspect, we have chicken salad, sandwich filling, small green apple. So everything's accounted for. Don't just put in, stew and then pick the first stew. So MyFitnessPal is something we use, has the largest food database in the world, phenomenal resource. Again, it's all about awareness. So try and put the foods in individual. The great thing is, if you shop in Tesco's, it has Tesco brand food. If you shop in Asda, it has Asda brand food. If you shop in M&S, it has M&S brand food. So there's no reason why you can't be super specific. The more specific you are, the easier it is for your coach to adapt it. So track, and then what I want you to do is cross-reference with this number that you got. So the 2,500. Okay, I want you to track your food, whatever that number is. Okay, then what's going to happen is, we're going to set our calorie target, and then we're going to set our macronutrients. So again, a rough estimate, we're talking about this 180 pound meal. Protein should be set between 0.8 to 1.2 for men. For females, 0.6 to 1.0 or 1.2. We had 1 gram of protein is 4 calories. So if we give this guy 1 gram of protein for 180 pounds of body weight, that is 180 grams of protein, and that is equivalent to 720 calories. So that's took a big chunk out of our 2,500. Fats should be dependent on percentage, so no lower than 20%, sometimes up to 50% if you're doing a low carb diet, or even higher. So 1 gram of fat is 9 calories. So just here, we've calculated that 20% of 2,500 is 500 calories. Okay. What we're going to do from there, sorry, I'll just go back here, is we're going to divide that by 9, and that's going to give us the amount of fat that we're taking in. Okay, so carbohydrates. So from whatever's left, we take 720 calories. We're going to add 500 calories to that there, so that's 1220. Whatever we've got left, okay, so sorry, 1280. We're going to have all that, and we can dedicate that to carbohydrates. This is just one way. Okay, so that leaves you with 320 grams of carbohydrates. Okay, now if you had a higher fat diet, you would have less calories left over, so you'll have a lower carb intake. And again, just for reference, because we all know we love a tipple, alcohol, although it's a liquid, contains a lot of calories. So 1 gram of alcohol is equivalent to 7 calories. So typical 750 ml bottle of red wine is equivalent to almost 700 calories. Okay, so there's roughly about 20 grams carbohydrates in there, and the rest has no nutritional value. A typical pint is 203 calories and usually has about 16 grams of carbs. So what we're going to talk about here is the behavioral change. So basically the reason why you fail on diets and why you end up breaking and starting back again on a Monday. So the behavioral change model, some of these may be familiar with in terms of business and whatever you're into in your day-to-day life. The first thought is pre-contemplation. So pre-contemplation is essentially what you do is not even thinking about change. Okay, so if we relate this back to fitness, you're not even thinking about going to the gym. It's not even on your peripheral vision. You're happy with yourself. You're not even thinking about it. Then what might happen is something comes out. You might see a photo of yourself. You might get a slight health scare, and then what you start to do is you start to contemplate. You're like, do you know what? I maybe need to start doing something about my fitness. I need to do something about my body composition. I need to get a little bit healthier. Then what's going to happen is you're going to prepare yourself. So you're at your prepared stage. You're thinking, right, I'm going to take action here. I'm going to get myself set. Yes, I know what I'm doing. And then you take action. So action could be you calling myself at hybrid, even just leaving a message saying, listen, could we have a chat? Having a face-to-face consultation, see what we can do for you. And that is you taking action. Then it could be you even starting just exercise, going out walking. And then what we want to do is we want to maintain that. Okay, so if we do pick up this habit and we decide we're going to do 3 days a week training, we want to pick that habit up and we want to try and maintain it as much as possible. But one of the most important things, if not the most important thing that I speak to my clients about is this: relapse. Everyone will relapse. You're not perfection personified. It is the most important part of the behavioral change. For you to adopt a new habit, to adopt a new lifestyle, you need to accept that at some point you are going to relapse. Whether you're out, you're drunk, you eat something bad, whatever it is, you're not going to live your life as a monk. But what you understand is it's about balance. It's not about you going balls to the wall, kicking your ass, taking out all the good stuff that you love, really running yourself into the ground to hit a target goal. And then you relapse, put on a ton of body fat, and you start to feel depressed again. Okay, so it's about balance. So if I'm going out to my friend's wedding at the weekend, I'm going to have the 3-course meal, I'm going to have a lot of alcohol. What do you recommend, PJ? I recommend that you bust your ass all week in the gym, you look after your food, you be as good as you possibly can, and then you enjoy that wedding. So again, you're pre-planning for what you're actually going to do. So some things to consider. So this is little infographics from Precision Nutrition you can find online, and it's called The Cost of Getting Lean. So an unhealthy body fat range for males and females is sub 6% body fat. For females, sub 16. People who are at this level of body fat are usually elite bodybuilders, okay, or fitness models. The benefits, they just feel prey to achieving an athletic goal, but it's not healthy. What are the trade-offs to getting into that sort of shape? They will have difficulty socializing in most typical situations where food is involved. They miss out on fun events with family and friends, big time commitment to measure, weigh, and track all foods, hyper focus on diet and exercise may contribute to disordered eating, so they could develop an eating disorder. The time required for exercise may crowd out all other pursuits. You're basically giving up your social life, you're weighing, you're measuring, you're tracking your food, all for a purpose of you stepping on stage or doing a cool photo shoot. So it's not healthy, and you're probably losing out on a lot of social events. Okay, so when I show people this, I'm like, do you want this? Yes, I want that. Okay, are you willing to do these trade-offs? If you are, let's go for that shit. Let's push for that. So you can see here what you need to do more. Eat slowly till satisfied. Incorporate calorie or carb cycling. Following a meal plan. Tracking your foods. Exercising for multiple times per week. Getting good sleep. What we want to do less of. Limit the carbs post-workout or higher carb days. You're not going to eat desserts or processed foods, and you're going to avoid caloric beverages. A little bit healthier, 6 to 9%, but that's pretty lean. You're going to get Olympic level boxers and wrestlers, Olympic sprinters, so these guys are ripped, okay? Olympic level gymnasts, it takes a lot of effort. So we'll probably look extremely lean, we'll have that six-pack, but overall health will probably be good due to carefully balanced, minimal processed diet. The trade-offs, may struggle in social situations, especially involving food, may not have the time for social opportunities, so they're obviously elite level athletes, they dedicate themselves to their sport. Then we have, 10 to 12%, which is very achievable for most general population, professional hockey players, volleyball players, Olympic swimmers. It's a fit appearance, good overall health, fewer food cravings due to balanced diet and exercise, easy to maintain, requires a little bit of planning, greater attention to detail, a bit of commitment, for a period of time. May need assistance from coaching. So for females, 20 to 22%. And again, if we look at 13 to 15, which is probably where most people are going to sit in and around, canoe and kayak athletes, softball players, baseball players, so it's American, fairly easy to maintain. Energy levels continue to improve. Probably be able to reduce or eliminate many medications. So essentially, you're going to be healthy. You're not going to be taking any medications. It's pretty good to be around about that. So based on some of those things to consider, we want to look at some of the stuff that females need to worry about. So they need to worry about is obviously their menstruation cycle. So first 2 weeks, we have what's known as the follicular phase. So people sometimes get a little bit uncomfortable when I start talking about periods here. Okay, they obviously have the ovulation phase. So obviously the egg is ovulating, and then we have the luteal phase. So if you can see here, LH, this little yellow thing, is representing luteinizing hormone. This green thing is follic stimulating hormone. Okay, the blue is estrogen, and the pink is progesterone. So when I'm measuring and weighing females, as you can see here, this is all starting to peak at certain times. So this is where your estrogen is at its highest. So this is where your potential to have excess water, excess body weight becomes a little bit higher. The other hormone that works alongside estrogen, progesterone, usually becomes higher in that week leading up to your period. So the best times to get measured are in your first 7 days or 7 days to 21 days after. This period going up to your actual period, the 4th week, the 2nd and 4th week is usually when you're going to hold a little bit more water. Okay, so for males, things we want to consider is a lot of the time males will eat a lot of food. We just need to adjust their portion sizes, get them eating a little bit healthier, probably reducing their intake a little bit of foods. And that's, some basic things to consider. So we have the Power of Food scale. So we want to talk a little bit about psychology of food. So the Power of Food scale was developed to assess the psychological impact of living in environments where there's highly palatable, lovely food around and it's readily available. So what they found is in developed countries, most food intake appears to be driven more by hedonic rather than homeostatic eating motives. So essentially, boredom eating, eating because there's nice food around, drives us more than the fact that we actually need to eat to maintain our weight to give us energy. So additional human data indicated relative to bland food, consuming a palatable food produces an increase in hunger. Furthermore, consuming a palatable food, or a food that is very bland, produces an earlier return of hunger. So basically what this was taken from was they give a group of people a really nice sweet tasting bowl of cereal. The other guys had a really bland cereal. The people who had the high sugar cereal felt hungrier quicker. The guys who had the bland cereal didn't eat as much, and then obviously their levels of hunger obviously came up a little bit more. So if you eat a little bit more of that sugary sweeter, it's going to make you that a little bit more hungry. So the motivational state created by repeated exposure to and consumption of highly palatable foods has recently been referred to as hedonic hunger. We're going to put that down to boredom eating, okay, who suggests that the pleasure derived from consumption of palatable foods rather than the energy need per se may underlie an increase in percentage of food intake need. So when we're feeling depressed, when we're feeling stressed, when females are at that peak hormonal phase, they look to food as a crutch. Okay, they look to food as a crutch. So we need to understand that. So the closer and more available food is to an individual, the more the food the individual will eat. So if you have really, really awesome, lovely food around you, you have chocolate in the cupboard, stuff that you like, cheesecake in the fridge, you are more likely going to eat that. That did not take a scientist to tell us that this is what happens. If good tasting food is around you, you will eat it. So, again, another behavioral sort of concept. For any who know Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Maslow stated that people are motivated to achieve certain needs and that some needs take precedence over others. Our most basic need is for physical survival. So you can see down here, physiological needs, food, water, warmth, rest. So basic needs. Safety needs obviously come in there. You want to feel secure, want to feel safe. Once these levels are filled, then we move up to the next level, and this is what motivates us, and so on. So then we get to the physiological needs, belongingness and love. So we want relationships, we want friends, feeling of accomplishments, prestige. This is a massive barrier to people potentially losing weight. We are social creatures. We want to feel good. We want to eat with our friends. If they are eating a boujum in work, we want to eat a boujum. We do not want to be eating a chicken salad. I don't care what any of you say. Okay, we enjoy a chicken salad, but essentially we would still love to be eating a boujum. Okay, so self-actualization, achieving one's full potential, including creative activities, that's usually never ever achieved for people because we always then set ourselves different goals. So factors out of your control, some of the stuff that you can't control when you're on a diet. So you cannot control your hunger. Okay, it comes from hormones. When you are hungry, okay, signals will be sent, your stomach will rumble, and it is your body telling you that you need to eat something. Salvation. So the thing is, what I want you to do for number 2 there is I want you to take a test. I want you all to take a biscuit. Okay, so there's a biscuit in and around your house or something that's really, really nice. And all I want you to do is smell it. For you that don't have those types of food around, I want you to close your eyes, think of your most favorite food, dinner, sweetie stuff, whatever it is. Think of that, really visualize it in your head. And what is going to happen is your mouth is going to start salivating. So your mouth is going to start getting wet because you're anticipating actually eating that food. Okay, so you cannot control that salivation. There's a reason why when you go to those supermarkets, those bread eggs are pumped with that lovely bread smell. Like Lidl is phenomenal for it, and it makes your mouth salivate and makes you want to eat everything inside. So success and failure is largely determined by habit. So that comes from Napoleon Hill from a famous book called Think and Grow Rich. So again, I'm not here to tell you to break all your bad habits. I'm telling you, let's develop new successful habits that's going to get you to where you want to be. So here's a couple of different things. So flexible dieting, if it fits your macros, stuff that works in the caloric. It works into your caloric, your caloric allowance. So here's an example. Meal 1, protein porridge. Meal 2, chicken salad. For this guy, his pre-workout was Monster Zero. So he had an energy drink. He had some amino acids. Post-workout, he loved Haribo. I was able to put some Haribo in his diet. His dinner, chicken, sweet potato, cooked in coconut oil, some Nando sauce. He had a little protein bar. He had some little sweet jelly. Another day, scrambled eggs, bacon, toast, red brown sauce. He had some fish fillets with a salad, avocado, balsamic vinegar. He had an apple. He didn't train that day. He had some chicken curry that night, chicken and rice. He had a Diet Coke or Coke Zero. He had some Monster Zero. He had 2 dark chocolate rice cakes with caramel sauce, and he also had a protein yogurt. And then on that third day, a large egg omelette, peppers, mushrooms, chili con carne. He had trained that day, had some Monster Zero amino acids. He had some more Haribo post-workout. He had more of the chili con carne. Didn't have a snack, so he used up all these. So he was on 2,500 calories. Okay, and look what these come to. You could have Haribo, you could have Monster. Pretty high protein intake, pretty high carb intake. Suits him. He enjoyed it. He was losing body fat along the process. So, like as you can see here, the majority of food that they're eating is healthy food. It is healthy food with a little bit of what he likes in there as well. So, clean eating. So, flexible diet versus clean eating. Here's an example of a clean eating plans with a high carb day. This person trained in the morning, so that's lukewarm water, refreshed lemon and lime, scoop of amino acids. porridge oats, some skim milk, cinnamon, protein shake, a chicken wrap, whole wheat tortilla, chicken, mayo. They had their supplement was Hurricane USN. They had an aminos drink. They had some Lucozade orange. For dinner, they had steak and sweet potato, cooked on a low heat with Carigo butter, mushrooms, peppers, a couple of chocolate rice cakes, and it came to this. Okay. We go back again. The second day, they had some phage yogurt with a handful of berries, scoop of protein, tuna pasta, their supplements again. Post workout, they had some chocolate milk. It's probably the nicest thing they have in there. Tortilla wrap pizza, so a pizza made on top of a tortilla wrap. A couple of chocolate rice cakes. Another day, a couple of eggs scrambled, some bacon, some wheaten, chicken salad, balsamic vinegar, chicken feta cheese. Their supplements again, they had some white fish, some mashed potato, a little bit of brown sauce, some beef jerky. As you can see here, the calories are almost identical, okay, to what I was showing you from the flexible dieting approach. So would you prefer to have some Haribo? Would you like to have, a little bit more flexibility on your snacks? Would you like to have some Diet Coke, some Coke Zero? I know what one I would choose, but again, it depends on what type of person you are. If you're the person who can't have a treat without overindulging, then we don't want to necessarily have those in the round of diet. So here's some examples. Some of the meals that I love. Marks and Spencer's doing an awesome balance for you range. They usually do like 3 for £10. As you can see here, chicken king prawn chorizo paella. So if you're stuck, you're in work, you don't want to cook, you haven't prepped your food, these are awesome. Great high protein content. As we look here, cauliflower rice, it's going to be really low in calories as well. Spicy chicken noodles, all these are awesome. So check out their range. And here's just some examples based on that flexible diet versus clean eating approach. So a kilo of melon is equivalent to 258 calories. So you could have a lot of melon and that could fill you. You could get 5 grams of protein. You can have 55 grams of carbs, 2 grams of fat. Okay, for an average Snickers, you're almost getting the same calories as a melon, a full melon. Almost the same protein content, lower carb content, but obviously a little bit higher fat content coming from the nuts. So whether you prefer to eat the melon, knock yourself out, prefer to eat the Snickers, you can enjoy your Snickers and still lose weight. If you do like alcohol, obviously Budweiser compared to Coors Light, you want to save yourself about 40 calories, about 5 grams of carbs drinking Coors Light than you would Budweiser. And then obviously just a little sweet treat. Your average Magnum is going to be about 260 calories versus Solero, which is less than 100 calories. Low in protein, a little bit lower in carbs, a lot lower in fats. Okay, so this comes from a guy, a good friend of mine, Gordon Greenhorn. So, check his stuff out. He has an amazing prep videos. Again, ice cream, we're looking at a whole tub of Opio. Okay, so 375 calories with 1.4 grams of protein. You do get this online, by the way. 60 grams of carbs to the full tub, less than 20 grams of fat compared to Ben & Jerry's, which is awesome. Almost 1,000 calories more. Obviously, it has a higher protein content, way higher carb content, way higher fat content. So a nice little substitute to have an ice cream, salted caramel flavor compared to the Ben & Jerry's. So again, when you're on your new diet and you have set your calorie allowance, you've set your protein intake, you've set your fat intake, you've set your carb intake, you then decide what is the best diet for you, whether you want to reduce your carbs, whether you want to have a high protein diet, a low fat diet, whether you want to do a clean eating, whether you want to do a flexible diet approach, or if it fits your macros, whatever you're doing, what we need to do is we need to stop guessing and we need to start assessing. So we need to assess our progress. Are we actually working? So we need a scale measurement. So scale measurement is not always the most accurate because it fluctuates. It can lead to demotivating the client. So if you're not hitting the numbers you expect, it can get people a little bit pissed off. So just be careful. Scale is just a measurement. If you were to weigh yourself every single day, you will notice how much you actually fluctuate on a day-to-day basis. And so we want to use the same foods and try and go into our weighing day eating the same thing that we had every week, essentially. So you use common sense when you're using the scales. Tape measurements. So you can see up here, taking measurements of various states can help assess where you're losing and which body parts are lagging. So if it's coming off the stomach, for guys, the arms are looking awesome. They're not losing any. Your chest is looking nice and big. That's a good thing. Females, coming off your hips, coming off your stomach, awesome. So a good thing to do is get up every single morning, have a tape measure beside your bed. Then what you can do is you can actually when you stand up, measure your waist, record it down, and you're more likely to be on point with the nutrition because you want to see that progress. You can use body fat calibers. Again, speak to your coach. They can take skin fold sites. They can also assess where you're losing or gaining. Again, use common sense. So if it is, gain around the back of your arms for females, we obviously want to work on that area. We want to get blood flow in there. We want to get stronger. If we are losing it from our stomach, that's what we want. And again, also, with your assessment process, we want to factor in your health and performance. So how are you performing in and out of the gym? Are you sleeping well? Are you not getting a good night's sleep? Are you only getting 5 hours? Is your sleep broken? Are you waking up in the middle of the night? Are you going to the toilet regularly? Are you actually able to get through your gym sessions when you're in there? Or are you just busted? Are you tired? Are you just like, oh, it's not going? Are you fatigued? Are you progressing well? Are your lifts getting stronger? Is your fitness improving? All these things matter, okay? Because this could dictate when we want to obviously put in potentially a little bit of a cheat day. So then from there, once you've got your whole diet done, you know what you're doing, you've got your numbers, you've got everything in the bag, then what you need to do is set yourself some goals, okay? Because if it's not set in stone, you're not going to know how you got there. So for the goal setting, some of the mistakes are people go too big. I want to lose, 3 stone. They're looking at Mount Everest, okay? There's too many goals. I want to lose 3 stone. I want to run a marathon. I want to be able to play with my kids, whatever it is. And it's not specific, okay? So what's happening is they're just like, oh, I just want to get a little bit fitter. So I want to get a little bit stronger, okay? And also the fact that it's not written down. Okay, this will all come into our hybrid mindset book. So our mindset book will give you some affirmations, will give you client contracts. It will help you set some goals. Okay, so you can see from here, we want our goals to be SMART goals. So S, they want to be specific. I want to lose 7 pounds this month. Okay, then can your goal be broken down into smaller steps? So weekly, on average, I need to lose just under 2 pounds per week to hit my 7 pound target. Okay. What can we do daily? We can go to the gym. We can exercise well. So all we're doing there is breaking that specific goal into something that is easier and smaller steps. So it needs to be motivational and it needs to be measurable. Okay. So is it emotionally charged? Are you sick of the way you look? Do you want to look better? Okay. Do you have the energy to carry out the goal? Are you motivated? Have you seen that horrible photo of yourself? You've looked in the mirror, or that photo of you on holiday and you went, oh, I'm turned. I need to do something about my weight. Okay. So it needs to be able to be measured, and that's where the assessment process comes in. And you have to be motivated for it. Okay. Accountable. Okay. Can your goal be tracked and accounted for? Okay. So is your coach keeping you on target? How are you tracking your progress? You're weighing, you're measuring yourself. If you're not on point, are you then just throwing up in the air? What way are you actually running your diet? So R, is it realistic, or as we have here, responsible? Excuse me. So realistic as in you give yourself a specific goal of I want to lose 4 stone, but you said I want to lose it in a month. That is not really realistic, okay? And you can't really be responsible for getting those phenomenal results, okay? So just be careful with that there as well. And again, T, so smart training, you want it to be touchable, okay? So what do you want to have as your end result, okay? If you want that end result, you have to get it there. So as you can see from here, what will you have to hold as a completed result? So for my clients, what I like to do is I tell them, I want you to buy a dress, a t-shirt or a shirt, whatever it is, a size smaller than you are now, okay? And you are going to fit into those jeans. Or a pair of old jeans that don't fit that well, bring them into us. We're going to keep them there. And then after about 30 days or 60 days, whatever time we set, we want to make sure we fit into those jeans. Okay? Cool. So, thank you very much, folks. That is obviously the end of our slideshow. I'm just going to go back a little bit here. Just go through the slides essentially for you guys again. If you do have any questions, pop them down. There is a little link that will go straight to the Facebook page. I will respond to you as soon as possible. And then also there is a link to turn up to a live event which I'm holding in the next few weeks. Again, we're going to talk about how to improve your weight loss and fat loss goals. I'll also post a link to these fat loss made simple recipes, our hybrid mindset guide, and also if you want to purchase our 7-day fat loss meal plan, you can. It's just less than £7, so less than £1 a day. Ton of recipes on there. Calorie control diets from 1400, 1800, 2200. So again, any questions, let me know. Hit me up. Hope you've enjoyed this webinar. If you have, please, if you can, share it with other people. That would be phenomenal. We want to get this information out there. We do want to show people that losing weight can be a lot easier than crash dieting and knocking your pan in the gym, for 3 hours a day, whatever it is. And we just want to get that research and stuff out there. So again, thank you for listening. Click on the links if you want to download some of this research. There is a little application form if you want to speak to us. We want our help with anything, whether it's a consultation, whether it's training. Hit us up. You want to attend our live event where I'll be speaking at it myself and potentially John. Just hit us up. And thank you very much, guys, for listening. Okay, peace. All out from us.